Hello, this is Dale Matthews. It's Sunday, the day that we look at the charter, and by we, I mean me and Mike Jones. Hello, Mike Jones.
Hey, Dale Matthews. I see we both got the blue shirt memo here this
Yes, thank
evening.
you very
Yes,
much for that. Right.
yes.
So we will be talking about the charter, but as is often the case, we start with the little pieces of news, some things that are kind of interesting. And one of the things that happened in the news today, yesterday and today, and will happen tomorrow, is there were some activities having to do with Memorial Day. And we got sent directly to me and to Mike pictures taken at the parade from she's
Pauline Dean.
Pauline Dean. She's kind of a grandmotherly type, very sweet little old lady type of person.
Hmm.
And Mike's going to show you a picture of, here's Pauline Dean as Betsy Ross,
Yeah,
and she's
that's
got a
pretty.
flag in her lap.
Yes.
And we've got another close-up of Pauline Dean as Betsy Ross. Cute little picture. See the guy in the background. Boy, they must have put some kind of effort into getting the uniforms and everything. What's very interesting about this picture that Pauline Dean shared with us is what's just a little over here. Oh, look, there's Joseph Rice. And who's that with his hands on his shoulders?
That's Gil Gilbertson, I think.
Gil Gilbertson with his hands on the shoulders of a smiling Joseph Rice of Oath Keepers.
Yep.
That's very interesting.
Who's the guy? Who is the guy in the uniform there? Do you recognize
I
that guy
don't
at all?
know. I don't
He
know.
he kind of looks like the guy, one of the guys that we see on in our Saturday morning meetings sometimes.
Okay. But
Okay.
that's the most interesting part of this is not Betsy Ross or who the guy is in the uniform. It's Gil Giberson with his hands on the shoulders of Joseph Rice. You know, there's been a lot of talk about from Joseph Rice about distaste for the current sheriff.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been some loose talk about, well, maybe we don't need that guy as our sheriff anymore.
Right.
Just a
Yes.
slight little bit of controversy just from one photograph.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It's so. What would that mean politically?
Well, I think that there is little debate about the fact that Joseph Rice may be tempted to run for county commissioner.
Mm.
And I know that there is very little doubt that neither Joseph Rice nor our previous sheriff have any use for our current sheriff.
Right.
So there is, from a political history point of view, a joining with political present, and that here's Gil Giberson with his hands on the shoulders of Joseph Rice.
Yes.
Best buds for life.
Yeah. There has even been some scuttlebutt that some people saying in social media that they hope that at some point Dave Daniel will leave and Gil Gilbertson will come back. I've heard that.
That's one of the reasons if you don't mind putting that photo up again, that's one of the reasons why this is a somewhat interesting photograph.
Yes, and I'll get back to that because it only takes me just a second because I had moved on from that.
Oh.
And now we're back. We're back. It's back.
It does remind me a little bit of those students of local history of the time that Paul Walter was running for office, and there was another person that was running as well, and he just couldn't keep his hands off the guy. That was actually funny. He just kept touching his thigh, and it was like, Paul, what do you think you're doing there, bud? And there was nothing going on. He couldn't stop touching him.
Yeah, just that's just a mannerism thing that
It
some people
was. It
have
was that. Yes. It was.
different sort of mannerisms.
No, no, no
Yes.
aspersions being cast here, other than political ones. It's
Not
certainly
that there's
possible.
anything wrong with that.
Yes, yes, but she is not weaving a multicolor flag.
No, she is not. No, this is the original.
Now, now, nobody get
Yes,
carried away here. We're not carried
yes,
away. Okay, so time to change the subject. You may see over my shoulder here. Here is the new front page. I try to do these once a week for us of the of badcounty.com, and it's full of pictures of people talking about the budget and the decision that the county commissioners, along with their appointed minions on the budget committee, that they will not use a huge surplus in road dollars that can, by law, absolutely be used. We've done it before.
yeah,
Help with the emergency situation. Remember that thing? It's an
right.
emergency situation. You must vote for the levy. Okay, they will not spend that money on
Yeah.
helping out the sheriff.
Yeah, all of a sudden the emergency seems to be over. But listen, everybody who has not seen this, because I have posted a lot of these videos in social media, and they are really doing well. This is the striking a chord with people. It really is. So if you have missed out on that, please go to badcounty.com. The entire front page is loaded with these videos, and you will be amazed. You'll be amazed at what you see from this.
Well, you start up in the upper left-hand corner of the top side, which we do as Americans, of course,
Yes.
and you can. It starts with the left, Mike, haha, and you will see. Starting right off, that Peggy Goodwin, who was the only person out of 6 people that weren't heavy, strong pro-levy supporters, and it is the budget after all, that's where a lot of the money comes from, she's saying up there, well, now, this money is available to us and we can use it, and we have done it before. It would put $1 million into patrols, specifically into patrols. Oh, yes, we're concerned about patrols. Okay, there you go, $1 million. Oh, no, we don't want to do that. Really?
Yeah, she didn't even get a second on that
Right.
suggestion.
She made the motion and nobody would second the motion.
Right.
Beautiful. So tomorrow night, we're going to do only that. We're going to play back all of these videos. You'll get a chance to see them right here, live, based on what happened Thursday. Well, you get the point. Okay, it's a wonderful use of Memorial Day to show
Mm-hmm.
you what that's all about. But
Yes.
today is
What happened in our recent memory?
that's right, right. But as Cheryl Walker puts it, well, that's really old news. And as
Yes,
everyone
and
knows,
and hearsay, of course.
hearsay
Yes.
is something that
Because it
happened a
happened a
long
long
time
time
ago.
ago. Yes. Which, of course, is completely relative. Long time ago, it could be 5 minutes ago, depending on how well you hold on to, recent memory, and or a million years, depending.
Well, one time they were in their protected air time at the end of the meeting, which means no one can talk, and then that was the end of the meeting. The next week, I come up and I start talking about it. They go, "Well, that's old news." Um, it was just last week. They didn't want to have their feet held to the fire. You keep saying, we really appreciate the fact that you hold their feet to the fire. So we do that. Well, as soon as they hear that toasty sound, they get pretty upset.
And as you might be able to tell by looking at the screen over Dale's right shoulder, this week we are going to put their feet in a bowl of hot chowder.
Oh, now, we were never talking about this because that's up to those among you who see the tiny little things to come up with it. We're talking about the county charter today.
Yes.
And it's just
Chowder.
for those of you
Chowder.
who see these little things, you go, oh, I get that. Okay. And some people are
Yes.
going, Marge, I still don't get
Yes,
that.
this is the famous Josephine County chowder. That,
Yes.
And someone will send us a recipe for that, I'm sure.
That's so. We did talk with Wally Hicks about our
Mhm.
county charter just a couple of days ago, and as we usually like to do, unless we're talking about some other cutting edge news story, like some creepy person with his hands on your back, then we what?
Subtle. Wow. Jeez.
And we start with something else. That's what this show is about.
Yeah, subtlety.
Go read the Courier,
We
okay?
take a baseball bat and we slip a nice pillowed sleeve over the top of it.
Okay, so we start off with now. We promised you that we would talk about the beginning of the charter. What is a charter? What's it for? And all the rest of it. So we're going to do that. But
Right.
I just really wanted to put in this part at the beginning. This shows you this is a living, breathing thing. This is living and breathing that has something to do with our everyday life. And Mike asked Wally Hicks a really good question. And then we're going to play that. And then next week, we're going to do that whole segment where we go into great detail about what it is that Mike is asking. But for right now, just a little teaser for next week. Go ahead and play that, Mike.
No, what I'm saying is that if it obviously is relating to people who are trying to make an enforcement of a law or something to that effect that is in violation of the intent of the charter, and then they would intercede. Perhaps I'm reading that wrong, but that seems like what it says.
What I'm hearing, rightly or wrongly, is basically you're asking whether doing nothing is permitted.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
I think that it is actually.
Yeah.
I think that it actually is. Yeah. It says that they
What
do
is
not
the point
enforce.
of this then? What is the point of it?
Good question, Mike. What is the point?
Well,
If
and
the commissioners don't have to do anything.
yeah, and the interesting thing is, because you can't really, you can if you have read the charter, you kind of know what I'm referring to, but there are a number of amendments to the charter which speak to protection of essentially constitutional rights, and that if some agency or person comes in here and tries to circumvent somebody's constitutional rights, that this charter gives local protection for said rights. And I'm thinking to myself, to me, okay, I'm in a firefight with the evil ones, and I'm thinking this document says that I have local protection, so I'm expecting the cavalry to arrive, and help me out, bail me out of this mess. Well, not necessarily.
Well, and we found from recent history, with the pastor's involvement with this levy, that not even the cavalry is going to arrive.
Yes, right. Yes, and actually, you probably have a better chance of that arriving than you do the cavalry in this particular case, and that's the sad thing about it, because I really think that there's something there, and if you do have the right people sitting in the right seats in our county government, you really would have the which one of these? Cavalry, you would have them riding to your rescue. And really, this is what the Oath Keepers were wanting. This is why they kept coming to the weekly business session and saying, hey, here's what's going on. What say you? And then they say, well, I think what you guys are doing is really good. And blah, 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 blah. And never really saying anything specifically.
We'll memorize this phrase in order to be a county commissioner. Hopefully, in the future, we'll never have to worry about problems like yours ever again.
Right. Yes. And we'll talk about that later after you're dead.
Right,
So that's, you can hear in that clip the frustration in my voice, and it was very, very difficult for Dale to catch the perfect context of it because it was a very fluid thing, and so to take 39 seconds and make it mean exactly what was happening in that situation kind of difficult. And
I think he did an awfully good job that day.
I think you did as good as you could do under those circumstances, no question about it.
Now, speaking of doing as good as we could do, what Wally really wanted to talk about, and what we told you we would talk about, so we're going to do that, is he wanted to talk about, what is this charter? What does it mean? How does it get started? Who started this thing anyway? And it doesn't really is it really important? And so we sat down with him to talk about that. Now, there was a decision that needed to be made, and we don't mind showing you behind the scenes. Want to see behind the scenes, little girl? No, I mean, shut up! Don't say that, guys.
Wow.
Okay, all right, all right.
Man.
So the thing is that we always want to go for the controversial and interesting and most exciting item, but sometimes there's a little bit of study that's necessary. No, I don't want to do a little study. Okay, sometimes that's necessary, and we're going to do that occasionally, and then next week we'll dedicate the whole thing to this more controversial item because, you know, if you're saying, this relates to our first story too, if you're saying that the current sheriff is not a constitutional sheriff, he will, yeah.
Right. I think that's accurate. And at some point there, we may want to delve into the you know, what defines a constitutional sheriff in order, but just as it relates to our charter here and stuff, I think he doesn't fit the definition.
Well, no, I don't think so. Okay, now, does that mean one strike and you're out? Well, that would have meant after week 1 that Gil Gilbertson would have been out because there were some things that he did and you're going, what in the world are you doing? Okay, and he denied doing it, and it's part of the record. So, you know, this spending of 4 years and 3, you know, I never did that. Well, everybody and their brother was there. There are eyewitnesses. There's the minutes. There's our recording. There's the audio recording. There's the TV station that was there. Come on. Okay, so maybe he can do one big, horrible, bad, dumb mistake. We'll just have to see. Anyway, yeah. So Wally wanted to talk about our county chowder, and so we're going to what? So
I see that you have made a decision to mispronounce the name charter throughout this whole episode, and just hope that you know, it'll subliminally plant in people's minds, and pretty soon people will go, I want to read the county chowder.
They want to eat the thing. Okay.
Yes, so I want to eat the county chowder.
Food for thought. Here is Wally Hicks talking with us to share it with you. He's decided to share some time with us so we can share it with you so that you can better understand this thing that we do on Sundays called the county charter.
Yeah, and this is very interesting.
Okay, you picked the subject today.
Yeah, I did.
You did. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And the subject is how did the charter get created, and how is the charter amended, and how could the charter be amended again, should somebody choose to do so. So, as I think I said last week, but we'll recap, there are 9 Oregon counties that have charters. They are Benton, Clatsop, Hood River, Jackson, Josephine, Lane, Multnomah, Uintah, and Washington. And I've read each of these charters, and they all are very different from one another, actually. Our charter is unique in that it has a number of amendments, which were designed along the ones we were just talking about, to mirror the provisions of the Bill of Rights of the U.S. Constitution and to provide protections of the rights of the citizens of Josephine County. And I didn't see anything comparable in any of the other charters. The other charters tend to deal with the form and nature of the government, how many commissioners there will be, and that sort of thing. Washington County, for example, has a provision in here that says the Board of Commissioners shall consist of 5 commissioners, one of whom shall be elected at large and designated as chair, and 4 who shall be elected for districts and provided for in other parts of the charter. And
wow! So in that case, the chair it serves a 4-year term, or
I think that's right. Actually, yes, I think that's right. And the chair is elected at large. Yes, one of whom shall be elected at large and designated as the chair.
And the rest are appointed?
Yes.
Oh,
yes. So a very, very different system.
Wow.
Government than what
so
we have.
Theoretically, they could be appointed by the chair, or you could have your own little private government going on there.
No, I'm sorry. No, no. The chair shall be elected at large, and 4 more shall be elected for districts.
Okay.
For regional districts.
Each district has someone that is supposed to be responsible to them.
Yes. Yes, yes. So,
kind of like when the city councilors are of a particular ward or something like that. Interesting.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's an example of the sort of thing that other charters have included in them, and that so we have discretion within our charter to have a 3-commissioner system as we do. I suppose we could have a 5-commissioner system if somebody were to propose an amendment through the process that we'll talk about later, or any other version. By the way, county commissions or boards of county commissioners used to be called county courts. County courts. And you would often see, and you still see in statute, the term county judge, where it's often referred to as being interchangeable with county commissioner. And so when talking about a county judge, we aren't talking about a judge of the judicial branch, wearing a robe and working in the courthouse. In that part of the courthouse, in the courtroom, we're talking about the county commissioners.
So how dated is that language?
That goes back to the founding of the state. And even in Josephine County, from what I have been told, we used to have a county court and a county, at least one county judge, I think.
Yeah, and that's sort of in the respect that the king holds court.
Yeah.
It's not it's not a judicial thing.
Yeah.
So when did they stop doing that?
I don't know the answer to that question, unfortunately. I wish I did. It's a fascinating thing to ponder, but I don't know. But I do know that on January 5th, 1981, our charter was made effective. And the way that happened was pursuant to the Oregon Revised Statutes. And the most recent amendment on that statute is actually from 1989. So I think, though, that the bulk of this statute was in place, from what I've been told, when our charter was established in 1981. And the statute I'm referring to here is Oregon Revised Statute 203-730. And these statutes are passed by the legislature, again, and signed by the governor. And so that says, and I'm going to skip a lot of this to hit the high points, but it says basically the way a county charter gets established is that it says a county charter may be proposed by a committee appointed after filing with the county clerks. This is all very explicitly laid out in law. There's only one way of getting a county charter established, and this is it. They tell us exactly how it's done.
So basically a bunch of people that are concerned about restructuring the way the county's basis document, they all get together and they petition to have this committee formed.
Yes.
Was there any authority at that point? How could there be county commissioners? Were there county commissioners at that point?
I think. Oh yes.
But they didn't appoint these people. These people self-generated?
No, I think they were elected even then, prior to the establishment.
I'm sorry, I meant the committee. The committee.
Okay. How did we? Yeah. No. Okay. Good point. That's a great question, and unfortunately, the statute actually tells us how that works. So yeah. So anyway, the way that works is a petition requesting appointment of the committee signed by such number of electors of the county as is equal to at least 4% of the whole number of votes cast within the county for all candidates for governor at the most recent election. I think in Josephine County we'd be talking about 2,600 or so. I think that's like the 4% range. How many voters would be talking
today,
about?
But not in 1981.
Yeah, in 1981 it would have been substantially less because the population was less. So, but today it'd be something on that scale.
So it's on the order of the number of signatures you'd need to almost put anything on the ballot or something in that time.
Yes.
No.
Yes. Now, different proposals require different numbers of signatures, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so they do tell us this requires 4%, but then other things 6 and 8%. You see, so the number can be different depending on the issue. Well, so anyway, the petition shall be submitted to the county clerk. And then the county clerk shall, not later than the 5th day after the filing of the resolution of the county court, so it even uses that county court terminology here in this statute, shall give, and again, that can be interchangeable with Board of County Commissioners. So that's the classic term is county court. It says, shall give written notice thereof to those persons entitled to participate in the appointment of a member of the committee. And it goes on, and it says, let's see. All right. Oh, and this is the next statute, actually. It's 203-740. So it says, within 60 days after the county clerk finds the petition for the appointment of the charter committee is sufficient, then the county clerk, let's see, then 60 days after the county court has filed with the county clerk its resolution requesting that a committee be appointed. So the county court or Board of County Commissioners then would pass a resolution requesting that a committee be appointed.
They can pass that without any assent from the people.
No. Remember, they had to have that
they got to have the signatures.
petition. They had to have the signatures of the 4%. So that's it's the step-by-step process here. So you get your signatures, then you get your and then that gets turned in and verified by the county clerk, and then you get the board or the court, but the board in this case, then shall file a resolution. And the way the board is comprised is explicitly laid out here in statute too. So a majority of the county court is entitled to appoint 4 members of the committee. So, you know, 2 out of 3 board members in our case would appoint the 4 members of the committee. And then this is very unique. And we'll talk about this. We'll dwell on this for a moment so that this is easily understood because it's pretty odd. And then the next paragraph says, a majority of the state senators and state representatives then representing the county is entitled to appoint 4 additional members. So the legislative delegation gets to appoint 4 additional members to the 9-member board.
Now that's 8 so far.
So
Yes,
that would
that's
be
8 so
Carl
far.
Wilson
Yes.
and
Herman.
Herman
Herman
Bertschiger.
Bertschiger today, yes.
Dwayne Stark. And actually, our legislative delegation is, Herman is our senator, and Jeff Cruz is another senator that represents a portion of this county. And then our representatives are Carl Wilson, who represents most of Josephine County, and then Dwayne Stark represents a good chunk of it. Wayne Krieger.
So all told, these people get
Yes.
together and select an additional 4
That's
total.
correct.
That's 4 out of 9.
Yes, that's 4 out of 9. That's 4 out of 9. So, but it's a very unique thing where you have your legislative delegation actually selecting members of a committee pursuant to statute. But that's how it works here. And then the 9th member is selected as follows: a majority of the 8 that we have already, so the 4 selected by the board and 4 by the legislative delegation, of those persons, so 5 of them will appoint 1 additional member.
So the citizens' involvement, the taxpayers, the voters' involvement was over once they put in the, it wasn't a ballot initiative, once they put in the initiative in general.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
everything else is appointed. Everybody else is
At this stage, yes, of course, it has to be passed by the voters
Right,
for the
yeah.
charter to take effect.
Right, right. And that's to start a charter, not to, amending it is different, but this is to start one.
That's correct.
So
That's correct.
then I would
Starting from
assume
scratch.
that at the time when the charter was to be voted upon, that this entire charter was part of the voters pamphlet. Then I would assume.
I think it must.
It must have
I don't know the answer. It should have been.
Yeah.
Right,
exactly.
But I do not know the answer to that. We can probably dig out a file if we want to know. But
Well, it wasn't available on the internet.
no, it was.
Yeah, that's right.
It was. So this would have been in I guess the general election of 1980.
Yeah.
Is when this would have been passed.
Wow.
Yeah. And so our charter was born. Our charter was born.
There is some value to discussing for a very short period of time, thank you very much, how the charter got started.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to talk quite a bit more, we could do it now if you like, Mike, about what the charter actually means. And we have been talking each week about what it means to us pretty much on a daily basis.
Yeah. Yeah, there are a lot of things that would apply to us almost daily. I mean, say these people that are about to experience eminent domain. They could refer to the charter to see what it says about that, and it basically says the same thing the Constitution does, and
Well, let's be clear. I mean, if your main if the thing that makes your heart go pitter-pat is canning homemade pickles, then maybe this doesn't have a relationship to your everyday activities.
yes.
But if you're watching this show, you are at least mildly interested in politics, local politics, and it has a relationship, the charter does, to everything, including our lead stories. Every possible thing, Wally looks surprised by that, every possible thing that we do in our area, there's some relationship. This is why when Mike and I were looking through just the table of contents, I thought, I hope this isn't too boring. No, there's all kinds of things in there. That's in the news. This isn't. Here's another one. Well, what about this, Mike?
Yeah, I agree. And one of the things that strikes you when you read through the charter is you come across a page like this, where it says the intent, and this is a lot of these amendments to the charter. They begin with, now this particular one is more due process in the taking of assets. And all of these little amendments, they start with this little phrase that's called intent. The intent of this charter amendment is to provide the citizens of Josephine County with local protection of one of their inalienable rights as originally defined by our founding fathers in the U.S. Constitution and Bill of Rights. And so you go, oh, okay, and there's a whole slew of those in there. They're very, very interesting, and it was great that they included these in the charter, because then if somebody in local government was of a mind to look at the charter as their guiding document, which they really should, I mean, it's so much like the Constitution for the Josephine County that why they don't look at this more, refer to it more, and then even take an oath to this when they take office, I have no idea. But if they did, they may be inclined to get on their white horse and come in and rescue you from wrongdoers.
Well, one of the reasons for that is that we haven't gotten heavy into this yet, is that this charter actually has some teeth, and it actually does protect us by some things that the state may wish to do here. And if there's a conflict, which Wally will talk about in 2 weeks. Next week we're going to talk about this thing that Mike brought up at the beginning of the show. Then we win. The local people win. Let me use an example of this thing about the intent at the beginning that maybe some of you can resonate with. That's not perfect English, but you know what with which some of you can resonate. When I was younger, I needed to buy a car because my car gave up fairly quickly. Back in those days when, it was an emergency. And so several people said, well, I had good luck with this place, and others said, oh, that's the most terrible place in the world. Don't ever go get a car from there. So, but they had lots of cars, and they had them at a low price. So I went in and I talked with the guy, and he says, well, we require a certain amount of money up front, and then you can take the car home for 2 weeks, try it out, and if you don't like it, bring it back. This was the sticking point. What was the intention? So I said, well, okay, I looked at this long list of gobbledygook that was all written, in legalese, and I thought, I'm out of my class here. So what I did is I drew up a little piece of paper with him there on the spot, hand wrote it, and it said my intent. So my intent is to give you this cash today. I'm going to bring this car back, if I don't like it, in 2 days, not a week. And I want my cash back. I don't want some promise of future cash. I don't want some, some check. It'll be, I can cash in a few days.
No perceived money either.
Right. Or perceived numbers or dark numbers, right? Yeah, I want my cash back. And then I put at the end of it, if there's any portion of this codicil, this little additional thing, that conflicts with anything in the previous document, this document, this thing I'm writing up now and signing, will take precedence.
Wow, that is very astute there.
I was just, a kid. Well, wow. I signed it, and he was happy to sign it because they always got away with this kind of stuff, right?
Right.
So I found out that same day, boy, was this dog a car. Boy, was this car a dog. Same thing. Whoa, it was awful. I took it to some place to have them check it out, and they said, do you realize this car is made up of 2 separate cars that were fused together?
Nice.
This car's been into some kind of major accident, buddy, because it's the front of one and the back of another.
Wow.
Well, jeez. I took it back over there. Well, I don't know. And I said, well, I'm going to want my money. Well, there's a check and we need to figure it out. And then we'll talk with you about it. I said, no. Look at the document we signed. Well, what document? I said, look at the document we signed. He pulls it out very reluctantly. My intent was clear.
Yeah. That's right. And you know what? If you write something down like this supersedes any previous verbiage in the contract, that's a done deal. And he signs it. That's a done deal. Because you just basically rewrote the contract.
That's right, right. If anything conflicts, this takes precedence. So when they write up what their intent is, this is the long discussion that we're going to have next week with Wally Hicks. Hey, it's absolutely crystal clear what the intentions of the voters were.
Yeah.
So why is the previous county legal counsel going to court to try to get our intentions? Why didn't he say anything before it was passed? What happened to the intentions of the people?
Yeah.
Just one last little thing. My only relationship to county commissioners that haven't lied and cheated to me personally, and all of them have, is with Sandy Casanelli. Oh, not Sandy again. Yes, she's the only one. Maybe you don't like some of the things that she decided, but she never, ever, ever lied to us, which is the beginning. Okay? This is why she could not be tolerated. This is why they made up this thing out. She always said no when she only said no 10% of the time. How do you end up being called Casanoli when you only say no 10% of the time? Okay? That was probably equal to the other guys. So one of the things that she did is she said, listen, I will not lie, cheat, or steal and that kind of stuff. But the point has almost eluded me. The point was that when she took her oath of office, I said, well, don't you also swear to the charter? She says, it doesn't have that in there. So she asked the judge, well, can I include that I'm going to obey the charter? And the judge says, no, you can't.
Yes.
What? You're prohibited? I said, if I run for office and win, yeah, haha, I know. I'm going to include that. Now, what's the judge going to do? Hold me in contempt, throw me in jail, and I'm out of office?
Yeah, there's nothing the judge could do. The judge could go, well, we don't normally do it that way. And you could go, well, we just did it.
We're doing it this time.
We're doing it this time.
And
what are you going to do?
We'll have two of them do this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, as a matter of fact, that ought to be, we ought to hound these people and say, listen, are you going to take an oath to the charter? That would be very interesting to see. And then, of course, they can't sidestep that after they've said that. Of course, you know what? The very first thing you do is break a campaign promise.
Yeah, well, Cheryl Walker did, and she sidesteps it all the time. If you asked her, "Are you going to obey the charter?" she's going to give you a long speech about the patriotism of her family.
Yeah, well,
she's done that.
Yeah, she's not the charter keeping sort of person as I see it. No, and it's very clear in recent weekly business sessions that she doesn't have any loyalty at all to the charter or the people of the county for that matter. She just thinks, well, you're not paying enough money. You're a minor. You're not bringing in enough money, and she obviously thinks that way about everybody else. So, if these people would just, get off their duff and pay a little bit more than the 58 cents. That's the problem we have.
Donate, but she actually said to these guys, "You can always donate money to the county government."
Mm-hmm.
Brother, talk about a loser.